Okay.
Uh,
What it means to me to live as a Christian in today's United States is
coming
it
from
goes
where
back
you are in life.
right. It goes back to my roots. I grew up, in a family that was deeply religious in Mississippi, and my grandfather was an African Methodist Episcopal pastor. He pastored the church. My dad was Baptist, my mother was Methodist, but they never did do the division thing. We as kids went to church with mom, and as we got older, we had the choice to choose what we wanted to do. So I went to church with my dad to the Baptist church, which was no different really than the AME church. But what it means to me is that um, it means that as a Christian today, it kind of like reminds me of when the children of Israel, and some people find this shocking, but when the children of Israel left Egypt and began their journey to the promised land, and along that journey, along that way, God kept telling them, to teach your children of your past so that they will not to go back there, but they will remember what was going on so that they can advance forward. And Christianity today in the black community has changed. It has become institutionalized. It's become more commercialized. It's more of a thing where we have, in some sense, not all, but in some sense, have gotten away from the principal basis of the Bible. And you see, and one of the things I'm talking about is that we're not teaching our children of where we came from. Me being a baby boomer, 60 years old, coming up, I was taught to always pray, and I was taught about God. And see, today's society, most Black African Americans, we don't teach our children the way we were taught.
Hmm.
And one of our downfalls, and we see the systemic racism. And see, this has been going on, Paul, since wow. I mean, way before now. A lot of people want to blame political wise. They want to blame the Republicans or the Democrats, and I blame both of them because if you look at it, nothing has really been done for equality for the African American community of people of color, whether it was Democrats or Republicans. But the thing about it, though, is that we as Black people, too, we have forgotten where we come from. Paul, we have forgotten what our mothers and our fathers taught us and what our grandparents taught us. We have forgotten and see, and a verse that I really, really love is 2 Chronicles 7:14. And I'm sure you're familiar with that verse. It says that if my people who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray, and when people look at it, when they say, well, who is my people called by my name? It's not Black people, it's not white people, it's not Asian people. It's that people who are called by my name is God's children, people that obey God. If they who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways and seek my face, then God says, I'll hear from heaven. I'll come see about you. You see, and we as a Black community has forgotten that. Not only us, but a lot of the other communities too have forgotten that. But a lot of our suffering, believe it or not, and I stand and I support Black Lives Matter. I support all of the movements and stuff, but in the process, I'm trying to teach our people that we have forgotten where we came from. And when you forget where you come from, when you forget your roots, when you forget how mama and daddy prayed their way through, then sometimes there has to be a stirring of the pot. God got a way of getting our attention, but are we going to listen to it? So when I say this in a way too that we have always been labeled as second or third class citizens in America, and when we were bought here as slaves, and when Lincoln freed the slaves, we have not never had the opportunity to really be equal to our white counterparts, our white brothers and sisters. So with that being said, though, is that the white people fear us in a sense. The ones that fear us, like, you know, and I'm not speaking on a negative point, is like our president, he fears us. Everything going on in the world today, and this is not political, this is about morality, being morally right. Everything going on, all the problems we got in America today. He only speaks about the Confederate statues. He speaks about, you know, other things, but things to bond us together, to pull us together, brother, to make us say, hey, you know, this is our leader saying we need to stop this, we need to do this. None of it is happening. Now, then you got people on my side doing the same thing. I've talked to people, you know, I've looked at the NAACP, you know, and some of the people in the NAACP are just, I mean, like, wow, really? To me, I'm saying in my head, I'm like, what you talking about? It got nothing to do with the issues of today. It's like they spreading division, you know? But as a Christian, a black man in America today, it's hard. It's hard because of the fact that we have been an oppressed people. We have been through a lot. And now people are beginning to fight back. We're tired. We are a tired people. And as a Christian, we must pray, because there's a lot of people, you know, that are not Christians, that's African American. A lot of them are atheists. They don't believe in God. But as a Christian, I tell my people all the time, we must continue to pray. We must continue to seek his face. We must continue to do what God wants us to do. We must continue to trek on in the way that Martin Luther King did it. And the younger generation says, no, it's time to fight back. They're killing us. So we, as older Christians, baby boomers, we must instill in our young people that violence is not the way. You know, being hateful or angry at people is not the way. I was taught something, Paul, you believe it or not, man, that I was taught as a kid to never hate no one. There's not one person on earth that I hate. I might dislike your ways. I might dislike what that person is doing. But my grandfather told me something, and God rest his soul. He died in 1972. He was 90 years old. And he was, like I said, African Methodist Episcopal preacher. And he told me something. He said, son, if you ever want to see Jesus, he said, you can't hate nobody. And that stuck with me since I was a little kid. That has stuck with me. And I try to teach that. I taught my children that. I got 5 children. My oldest is 40, Vernon Jr. My youngest is 24. She and she knows it too. I taught all my kids. I pastored 2 churches myself. I pastored one in Omaha, Nebraska. And then also I pastored one in Council Bluffs, Iowa. You know,
that's where my dad was born.
And the church I pastored in Potawatomi County, believe it or not, was all white church. They came to me and they wanted me to come to them, and they wanted me to help them figure out how to get the black people in that community to come to the church. They would go door to door, and the black people shied away, but I went over and I was there with them for a while, and I taught them that. But to me, being a Christian in America today as a black person is sometimes, you know, people get tired and they feel like God has forgotten them. But, you know, sometimes we have to realize, though, that maybe we forget God, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to teach people, you know, that we need to remember where we came from. And with all of the racism and hatred out here today, I see it every day. I mean, Paul, I've seen it since I was a kid. Something, you know, that I share with people, and I share this with you and only my wife and my a cousin of mine knows. When I was a kid back home in Mississippi growing up, I was about 8 years old. I was riding with my dad in a pickup truck. We was heading into town. We lived about 5 miles from town. And we came up on a tree, and there was a black man hanging in that tree. And I was 8 years old, and my dad says, get out, boy, and help me. And he had me to go over there and tried to take the gentleman and push him up. So my dad climbed the tree and he cut the rope off his neck. And I helped my dad carry this man to the truck. I was traumatized. And we got him in the pickup truck, and Dad carried him to the morgue, to the funeral home. And to this day, I never did see nothing about that man mentioned in the paper, or nothing about what had happened to him, or nothing. And that was something that I haven't even shared with my brothers and my siblings and all that. Dad made me promise at the time, God rest his soul. He says, "You promised me, boy, you won't tell nobody what you saw today." And but I share it now because of the fact that it kind of like haunts me. And sometimes I can't sleep because I want to go back and find out who was that and what happened to him and who hung him. But, you know, I have not really pushed the issue, but life is unique, you know, and living as a black man, I have that in my heart that sometimes I do get angry. I see oppression by white people, but, you know, something I learned, and my wife is white, okay? My wife's from Idaho. She came from a Mormon family. Beautiful young lady. I love her to death. She's my baby. One of the things I've learned is that regardless of what happens, you can't hate people. That there's always a way that you got to learn how to love everybody. So being black and a Christian in America today, I feel that if I do what God tells me to do, I can make a change and I can make a difference. That's how I feel about it.
That's amazing, Vernon. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing about that very, very difficult position. It brings tears to my eyes that you had to go through that. I can't imagine the horror of that moment that you experienced, and your dad had probably seen it before. And, you know, my head knows that those things were going on, but I never talked to anybody who saw it personally. And it really brings it home to me. I want to know who he is too. I want to know who killed him. I want to see justice. Justice for that specific situation is going to be, well, I don't know that we can do that, but we can do things now.
We can do things now.
We can build.
We can do things now from going forward. You know, we can do things now, and you know, there were so many murders in Mississippi that has not been solved.
Wow.
Cases have been closed.
Yeah.
There are so many. I mean that. Yeah. And then whenever the people were held accountable for it, they got out free.
Yeah.
You know, jury said, "Oh, they didn't do it." You know, it was you know, they so.
Yeah. Come up with some crazy excuse.
Yeah. Yep. So, wow. But anyway, you know, brother, I just say that, you know, being black in America today, we have to be careful because I always tell my children, you know, my sons, you know, I said, you guys be careful out there. My sons are 40, 39, and 37. And I always tell them, be careful, boys, you know, because, you know, you got your friends, you like riding. You never know what can happen. Yeah. You know, and my kids like, oh, Dad, we good kids. You know, we don't bother nobody. Yeah. I says, yeah, George Floyd didn't bother nobody. No. Yeah. Ahmaud Arbery, he didn't bother nobody. Yeah. You know, I can just go on with the names of people. You know, everybody knows, but you know, they wasn't bothering nobody. Yeah. You know, and then sometimes we have situations where people had a bad past, and they're really trying to correct their lives. And when they are killed or they are being treated bad by the police department, it's thrown up. Well, you know, well, they got this criminal past. Well, what were they doing at the moment? Yeah. You know? Yeah. What were they doing at the moment to you know, they're getting themselves together. So yeah. Anyway, I thank you so much, you know, for having me, Paul, you know, and God bless you. God bless your church. You know, one of these days when things open up, I'm gonna come visit you.
Oh, I'd probably put you in the pulpit and have you preach.
God bless you. You don't want me to chase your members off. I'm one of those fiery preachers. I'm one of those fire and brimstone preachers.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Probably scare your members to death. They probably like, oh Lord, what was that?
Thank you so much, Vernon. I so appreciate it. God bless you. And
God bless you too.
God heal you.
Seeing you again, my friend. Maybe
You too.
sometime when things open up, we can sit down and have some lunch or something together. You know, I'd like to continue our friendship, get to know you better.
That sounds like a plan.
You know, and God bless your congregation and all, and just praying that everybody stay safe and stay healthy. Okay.
Thank you. You too, and get better.
I will. God bless
Okay.
you.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye bye.